Okay, so you're taking the plunge, launching a website. That's amazing.
It's always exciting to see someone with that entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Absolutely, and everyone's got to start somewhere.
For sure.
But then you see the web hosting offers, and well, let's just say it's not always the most exciting part of the journey.
Yeah, can be a bit of a head scratcher, all that jargon.
Definitely. Like what even IS and Inode.
Uh-huh, exactly.
But don't worry, today we're doing a deep dive into one of these offers. We'll unpack the details, translate the tech speak, and hopefully help you avoid any surprises down the road.
I'm all for making this as painless as possible. Ready to decode some web hosting mysteries.
Let's do it. So right off the bat, this offer is boasting about 100 websites. 100. And get this, 100 gigabytes storage.
Wow, those are some big numbers, almost like they're trying to grab your attention.
Right. It's practically irresistible. But my inner skeptic is like, okay, what's the catch? This has got to be some kind of digital illusion, right?
You're right to be cautious. Web hosting providers do love using those attention-grabbing words like unlimited. But let's be real, in the digital world, just like in the physical world, there are always limits.
Okay, so break it down for me. What about bandwidth? What's the deal with that?
So think of bandwidth as the highway your website lives on. More bandwidth means more lanes on that highway. Of course, more lanes mean more visitors can access your site smoothly at the same time.
Okay, makes sense. So more bandwidth, smoother sailing for everyone. But you mentioned limits.
Exactly. You see, these unlimited offers usually have these things called fair usage policies.
Ah, those policies. Always hiding in the fine print.
Right. So basically, if your site suddenly gets a ton of traffic, like let's say your latest blog post goes viral,
Oh, stop. You're making me blush.
well, congratulations are in order. But back to the point. If your blog or anything else goes viral and gets a ton of traffic, your website speed might slow down.
Oh, to prevent a digital traffic jam?
Exactly. They want to keep things running smoothly for everyone, so they might throttle back your website speed a bit if it's getting an unusually high amount of traffic.
Okay, so it's more about being prepared for those we broke the internet moments. Got it. Now let's talk about something that always makes me feel a little technologically challenged.
And nodes.
Ah, yes, inodes. The unsung heroes of web hosting.
But what are they?
Okay, so in the simplest terms, you can think of an inode as a container.
A container. All right, I can work with that. Every file and piece of data on your website needs a container, its own little inode.
Okay, so every image, every blog post, every single thing I put on my website, it gets its own little container.
Got it. You got it. Now this offer, it mentions 5,000 files and directories, which sounds like a lot, right?
It does. That's a lot of containers.
It is, but think about it. If you're running a photography website, let's say, with tons of super high-resolution images, those inodes can add up really quickly. Or imagine you're running a big e-commerce store with, like, thousands and thousands of products.
Whoa, yeah, the containers would be overflowing.
Exactly. So it's something to keep in mind, especially if you have a content-heavy website. It's kind of like when you're packing for a trip. You got to make sure your suitcase is big enough to fit everything, right?
Oh, absolutely. No one wants to play luggage Tetris at the last minute.
Definitely not. Okay, so we've covered some of the essential, yet slightly less glamorous parts of web hosting. Ready to move on to the fun stuff.
The fun stuff. Like what? Are we talking confetti cannons and party poppers?
Well, maybe not literally, but, the perks, the things that make web hosting a little less daunting.
Oh, okay. Yes, let's get to the perks. So this offer is singing a very tempting tune with promises of a free domain, light speed, and one-click install. It all sounds incredibly user-friendly, almost too good to be true, which of course makes me suspicious. So give it to me straight. What's the reality check here?
All right, so first up, the free domain. It's a genuine perk.
It is.
It really is. I mean, a domain name can cost you, what, around $1,199 per year?
Yeah, that's not exactly pocket change.
Exactly. So getting a free domain with your hosting plan, that's a nice little bonus right there. Saves you some money and simplifies the setup process.
Okay, that makes sense. So point for the free domain. Now, what about light speed? That sounds pretty cool. Is that like some kind of turbo boost for your website?
You know what? That's actually a great analogy.
It is.
It is. Lightspeed is all about speed. It's a type of server technology that's known for being incredibly fast, even under heavy traffic conditions. It's like having a super fast waiter at a restaurant. You get your food served in a flash. And in the web hosting world, that speed is crucial for keeping your visitors happy.
Okay, no one likes a slow website.
No one. A slow website is a surefire way to send those visitors running to your competitors.
Yikes. All right, speed check. Now, what about this one-click install? Because honestly, the fewer clicks, the better in my book.
I hear you on that. One-click installs are great, especially if you're not super comfortable with the more technical side of things. We're talking about installing things like WordPress or content management systems. With one click, you can get your website up and running in no time. It's really about making things as easy and beginner-friendly as possible.
That's good to know. But I do have another question about something that seems a little off. They're really pushing the unlimited bandwidth thing, which, okay, we've talked about the reality of unlimited offers,
Right.
but then they say they only guarantee 99.95% uptime. I'm no math whiz, but that doesn't sound like 100% to me.
You're right to be a little skeptical there. Even the most reliable hosting providers can't guarantee 100% uptime. That's true. There are always going to be occasional hiccups, however rare they might be.
So how should we interpret that 99.95%?
Well, think of it this way. Even if you have a really reliable car, there's always a slight chance you could get a flat tire, right?
Okay, yeah, you're right. Stuff happens.
Exactly. And with websites, it's similar.
Okay, but what does that tiny percentage translate to in real world terms? Like how much downtime are we actually talking about?
So 99.95% uptime sounds pretty good, right?
It does.
But if you actually do the math, it means that your website could potentially be down for around 4.5 hours over the course of an entire year.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that much. 4 hours. That's significant, especially if you're running an online business.
Yeah, especially for a business that relies heavily on its website. Even a short amount of downtime can have a real impact, potentially costing you customers and revenue.
It really puts things into perspective. All right, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the unsung heroes of web hosting, the things people don't always think about up front, but are absolutely essential: security and support.
So important, and they often get overlooked until there's a problem.
Exactly. So let's dive in. This offer mentions a malware scanner and DDoS protection. Sounds good in theory, but I've been burned before by fancy-sounding features that didn't really live up to the hype. So tell me, are these just buzzwords, or is there real substance behind them?
Those are definitely not just buzzwords. They're essential security features that can make a big difference in protecting your website.
Okay, good to know. But I think a little explanation is in order. So let's start with the malware scanner. What exactly does that do?
A malware scanner is basically like having a security guard for your website, but instead of patrolling a physical space, it's constantly scanning your website's files for any signs of malicious software, things like viruses, worms, all those nasty things that can really mess up your site and, frankly, give you a massive headache.
Malware sounds about as fun as a computer virus in real life.
It's not fun at all. It can be a nightmare to deal with.
Mhm.
So having that malware scanner working behind the scenes, it's like having a safety net.
Right. And what about DDoS protection? I've heard that term thrown around, but I'm not entirely sure what it means.
Okay, imagine this. A horde of people all try to force their way into a store at the same time.
Chaos.
Total chaos, right? That's basically what a DDoS attack is, but instead of people, it's a flood of traffic from multiple sources all hitting your website at once.
Oh, so it's like a digital stampede.
Exactly. And it can overwhelm your server and cause your website to crash.
Okay, yeah, website crashes are definitely something I want to avoid. So this DDoS protection, it's like a bouncer for my website, keeping those troublemakers out.
That's a great way to put it. DDoS protection acts like a shield, filtering out that malicious traffic and preventing it from reaching your server in the first place.
Okay, I'm feeling much safer already. Now, let's talk about something else that's super important, especially for someone like me who's not exactly a tech whiz. Support. What kind of support do they offer?
Support is crucial, especially when you're first starting out or if you ever run into a technical snag.
Because sometimes Google can only get you so far.
Exactly. Sometimes you need a real human to talk you through it.
Okay, so this offer, they say they provide 24/7 support. Is that like the gold standard in web hosting support, or should I be looking for something more specific?
24/7 support is definitely what you want to see. It means, ideally, that you can get help anytime, day or night, whether it's a critical issue or you just have a quick question.
So no more frantically emailing support and then waiting days for a response.
Hopefully not. But it's a good idea to dig a little deeper and see what those support channels actually look like.
Okay, so what should I be looking for?
Look for things like live chat, which is super helpful for quick questions, email support for more in-depth issues, and ideally even phone support for those times when you just need to talk to a real live human.
Because sometimes you just need that human touch. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about bandwidth and inodes, the perks and the security features, and the importance of support. And they even have that 30-day money-back guarantee, which is always reassuring. But before we wrap up, what are some things someone should consider before they hit that sign me up button?
You're right, a money-back guarantee is a great safety net, but it's not a free pass to jump in without doing your due diligence.
Okay, so what kind of homework should someone do before committing to a web hosting provider?
First and foremost, don't just take the provider's word for it. Go out there and do some research. Look for reviews from other users.
Oh yeah, those online reviews can be very telling.
Right, they can give you valuable insights into other people's experiences, good or bad. See what kind of reputation their provider has in the industry. And don't just focus on the positive reviews. Pay attention to the negative ones too, because they can often highlight potential red flags.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes the negative reviews are even more revealing than the positive ones.
Exactly. And it's not just about the present, it's also about the future. Really think about your long-term needs. How much do you anticipate your website growing? Will this plan be able to accommodate that growth? It's kind of like when you're buying a car. You don't just buy the first one you see that fits your budget, right?
Right. You think about your needs, your lifestyle. Do you need something fuel efficient or something with more space?
Exactly. Web hosting is similar. You want to choose a plan that aligns with your current needs and can grow with you as your website expands.
Great advice. Okay, now for the question everyone's been waiting for, the price tag. This package is priced at 148. That's really affordable.
It is an attractive price point for sure.
It's practically a steal, but of course my inner skeptic is whispering, what's the catch? Because we all know that nothing in life is truly free.
You're right, there's always a catch. Web hosting providers, they often use promotional pricing to draw you in.
Ah, those classic marketing tactics.
Exactly. So that super enticing price you see, it might only be for a limited time, like the first year or the first few months. The important thing is to find out what happens after that initial honeymoon period is over.
Okay, so what should people be looking out for?
Look at the renewal rates. Those are often much higher than the promotional price. And be on the lookout for any hidden fees lurking in the fine print.
Oh, yes, those pesky hidden fees. They always seem to pop up when you least expect them.
They do. So it's essential to read the fine print, even if it's, not the most thrilling read.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from bandwidth to inodes, security features to support, and of course, the all-important price.
We really have. Hopefully we've shed some light on the often confusing world of web hosting.
I think we have, and it's clear that while this particular offer looks pretty tempting, it's always a good idea to read the fine print and do your research before you commit.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially in the world of web hosting.
So true. And with that in mind, here's a question for all of you listening. Based on everything we've talked about, what one question will you make sure to ask before making a decision on this web hosting plan or any other? Keep those questions coming, and happy website building.
To your online success.